So hello, what's up? How is everyone doing? Welcome to the first class of your CA final auditing. Everyone who has joined live, please confirm in the chat box. Is my audio video all proper to you? Please tell me in the chat box. Good morning, all of you. Is the audio video all good? Yes, sir. Everything is clear. Everything is perfect. Awesome. So please quickly mark your attendance in the chat box. Gautam, Satvik, Chaitanya, Nishit, Vasvi, Bhuma Kanti, Praveen, Jomil. Very, very good. Welcome everyone. Welcome to this batch. Before I begin with today's discussion, I want to know from where are all of you? Okay. Which city and state do you people belong to? I want to know that. For example, my name is Shubham Keswani. I am from Noida, Uttar Pradesh. Okay. Now you people tell me, where do you people belong to? Swati, Sonia, tell me now. Good morning, everyone. Tell me. Tirupur, Tamil Nadu. Okay. Bellary, Karnataka. Vijayawada, Andhra Pradesh. Pune, Maharashtra. Bangalore, Karnataka. Kochi, Kerala. Bhubaneswar, Odisha. Tirupur, Tamil Nadu. Hyderabad, Telangana. Coimbatore, Hyderabad. Great. Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu. Bangalore, Karnataka. Bellary, Karnataka. Ongole, Andhra Pradesh. Awesome. So I think we have covered a good part of the southern belt. Okay, we have Andhra Pradesh, we have Telangana, we have Chennai, Tamil Nadu, we have Kerala, we have Karnataka also. Awesome. Chennai, Tamil Nadu, Bangalore, Ongole, Andhra Pradesh. Awesome. So welcome everyone. Welcome to this batch. Before I begin with the today's first class, I want all of you to write the target that you have set for yourself in case of auditing. What is your target score for audit subject at CA final level? Please tell me your target and do write it. Do write it in your notebook also. Sir, please call me Neeraj, not that other name. Okay, I'll call you Neeraj, but I will forget because here the name is showing otherwise. Okay. Pune, BB Virtuals. Okay. Vizag, Andhra Pradesh. Tell me your target score for auditing. 71 plus. Very good, Venkatesh. Others, 60, 65. Okay. So many people have that reality check of CA intermediate. Okay. So that's why they're having 60, 65. 67. 70 plus 70 to 75, 65 plus 70 plus. Good. I feel 70 plus is a decent score. 70 plus is a decent score, and that is something which is very easily manageable. Something which is very easily manageable. If you properly follow all the class instructions, you can easily score 70 plus in audit. Got it, sir. Got it, sir. Today in this first class, what we will going to begin with is the basics of audit. Okay. Basics of audit, that means there are certain basic concepts of auditing which I need all of you to properly understand, because if you will understand these basics of auditing that we are going to cover in the first few classes, then the journey of CA final audit will become very, very easy for you. You understand the point or not? Yes, sir. So the first basic of audit that we need to understand here is, sir, why do we need audit of financial statements? Acha, I will request all of you to keep writing with me. Whenever I am writing something, you should also keep writing. It will keep you engaged. Okay? It will also keep you engaged during the lecture. And yeah, and whenever I ask you to stop writing and I'm explaining something, then you should stop writing and then you should focus on understanding part. You understood the concept? Yes, sir. So first question here is, why do we need the audit of financial statements? Okay. Why do we need the audit of financial statements? You wrote the heading? Yes, sir, we wrote the heading. Now, everyone, please focus on the board. Okay, sir. And you can also draw with me. Got it. There is one person 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%. 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%. 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%. 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%. Sir, who are these so many people? These are the shareholders. Oh, these are the shareholders. Got it, sir. They have invested their hard earned money. They have done the investment of their hard earned money in a company called Reliance Limited. So, in a company called Reliance Limited, they have invested their hard earned money. Got it, sir. Now, tell me one thing. Shareholders have given their money to Reliance Limited? Yes, sir. But are they managing this money? No, sir. The management of the money is taken care by the management of Reliance Limited. Management of Reliance Limited is taking care of the money. Got it. Now these shareholders want to know what happened with their money. How is the company performing? So to know how the company is performing, management submits the financial statements. Management gives the financial statements, that is the balance sheet, P&L, notes to accounts. They submit every year to the shareholder. Simple thing? Yes, sir. Very simple. Now, sir, when these things are happening, can I say there are chances? Sir, chances of what? That management can try to show less profits. Why will they try to show less profits? To pay less taxes. Or management can try to show more profits. Why will they try to show more profits? To get more bonus. To get more bonus. To get more commission. You are understanding the point? Yes, sir. Now, sir, since the shareholder are worried about these chances that these profits can be lower or profits can be higher than actual, what do they want? They want there should be some person. They want that there should be some person. Okay, sir. This person, he will do what? Let's give him some here also. Yeah. He will do what? He will check the financial statements. He will check the financial statements to see whether the financial statements are prepared properly or not. Now, sir, who is this person who will check the financial statements? This person is called the auditor. This person is called the auditor. You got the point or not? Yes, sir. Now tell me one thing. When I am talking about this auditor, you people tell me one thing, huh? When I am talking about this auditor, we all have studied a company law. Yes, sir. In that company law, we have studied that as an auditor of the company, in section 141 subsection 3, what I remember, can I hold the shares in the company? Answer is no. Why can I not hold the shares in the company? Sir, if you will be holding the shares in the company, you will always want the company to show higher profits. You will want the company to show higher revenue. So to show higher profits and higher revenue, you will be biased. Oh, so you cannot hold shares in the company. ठीक है, sir. Apart from this, can I be the employee of the company? Can I be the employee of the company? Again, the answer is no. You cannot be any employee or officer in the company, because if you will be a part of the management, again, you will want to show less profits to save taxes, or you will want to show more profits to get more bonus or more commission. So neither you can hold the shares, neither you can be an employee or officer of the company. So that's why whenever I say auditor, I don't simply say auditor. I call it as independent auditor. What do I call him as? Independent auditor. You are understanding the basic concept or not? Yes, sir. So now I hope all of you have understood why do we need audit of financial statement. Yes, sir. We need an independent auditor who can check the financial statements for the shareholder. You understood this basic concept, everyone? Yes, sir. Now everyone come with me to concept number 2. What does the concept 2 talk about? How to check the financial statements. How to check the financial statements. So if I talk about the financial statements, they consist of balance sheet, P&L, and notes to accounts. Yes or no? Yes, sir. Now, sir, these financial statements should be prepared as per. We all know that if there is a company, financial statement should be prepared as per Schedule 3. It should be prepared as per the accounting standards. It can be AS or Ind AS depending on the company. Yes or no? Yes, sir. I can say this is also the marking scheme. This is just like the marking scheme to check the financial statement, whether the financial statements are prepared as per this marking scheme or not. What do we call this marking scheme in audit language? Sir, this is called financial reporting framework. This is called financial reporting framework. But sir, tell us one thing. For some companies, AS is applicable. For some companies, Ind AS is applicable. So what should I call it? I will give you one hint. Please fill this sentence. Please fill this sentence and tell me what do I call this? You have studied this in intermediate, but I want you to give the answer in the chat box now. A for dash FRF, financial reporting framework. Very good, Pavan. Very good, Venkatesh. Very good, Satvik. All of you gave the right answer. So the right answer is applicable. Applicable financial reporting framework, and we will call it AFRF. We will call it AFRF. Okay. So as an auditor, I always want that my financial statements should be prepared as per the applicable FRF. If they are prepared as per applicable FRF, very good. But if they are not prepared as per applicable FRF, that means whatever financial statements that you have prepared and whatever is the requirement of applicable FRF, if there is any difference, if there is a difference between the two, we call it a mistake. No, sir. In audit, the word mistake is not used. Which word do you use? We use the word misstatement. We use the word misstatement. What is a misstatement? Misstatement is a difference in ACPD. What is ACPD? A for amount, C for classification, P for presentation, and D for disclosure. Difference in the amount, classification, presentation, or disclosure that is reported in the financial statements and that is required as per applicable FRF. That is required as per applicable FRF. Please write it down and confirm in the chat box. Then I will make you understand what do you mean by amount, classification, presentation, and disclosure. Please write it down fast. Done, 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 sir. Now, sir, how can there be a misstatement in the amount? Please focus on the board and understand. Okay, sir. Example of a misstatement in amount can be there is overvaluation. Overvaluation in the debtors, overvaluation in the inventory, or there can be some fictitious expenses which are posted by the company. So if there is some overvaluation, fictitious expense, that means there is a difference in the amount. That means there is a misstatement which is related to the amount. Got it, sir? What about classification? Classification, there is one classic example that every accounts teacher uses. I am going to use the same example. Got it, sir? Wages paid. Wages paid for construction of PPE. Wages paid for construction of PPE. Tell me one thing. This wages paid for construction of PPE, where will it go? Will it go to P&L account or do we capitalize it in the PP account? You people tell me in the chat box. Acha, you need to participate, huh? The more you participate, the more clarity you get and more engaged you feel throughout the class. Everyone gave the right answer. Sir, we need to capitalize it. We need to capitalize it. It will not go to the P&L account. Good point. Presentation. Whatever presentation that you are doing, that should be as per the schedule 3. What do you mean by presentation as per schedule 3? If you are preparing the P&L account, revenue will come first, other income will come afterwards, and then the expenses. Once you have shown the P&L, then you will show the OCI, that is the other comprehensive income. So whatever schedule 3 says, that presentation format you need to follow. Similarly, for the balance sheet is always going to start from asset side. If I'm talking about India's financial statements, first you write the assets, and in assets, do you start with cash and bank? No, you start with the PPE, intangible asset, and then lastly you talk about cash and bank balance. Then you talk about the equity and the liabilities. You are getting the point or not? Yes, sir. So once you are preparing the financial statement, presentation cannot be anything. You need to follow a proper presentation that is given as per your applicable FRF, that is your schedule 3. If there is no proper presentation, then it will be a misstatement. Got it, sir? Talking about the disclosure, again, whatever notes to accounts that is required as per applicable FRF, that you need to give. For example, if the company has not disclosed a related party transaction, it will be a misstatement because disclosure is required. If I talk about Ind AS 24, disclosure is required. So if you are not giving a disclosure of the related party transaction, again, it will be a misstatement. I hope all of you understood the 4 concepts. Yes, sir. Whenever there is a difference in ACPD, ACPD means amount, classification, presentation, or disclosure, between what is reported and what is required as per applicable FRF, it will be termed as a misstatement. You got the point or not? Yes, sir. So quickly take 1 minute. You need to revise this concept of misstatement. Once you are done with the revision, please type in the chat box, done, 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 done. Let's see who does it first. Your time starts now. Very good. Awesome. Acha, now tell me one thing, huh? Please, one thing. This misstatement that I am talking about, sir, it can be due to two aspects. What? It can be due to error. Oh. Or it can be due to fraud. Sir, what is the difference between error and fraud? The difference is of intention. It is intentional and error is unintentional. Okay? So just write this thing also, that the misstatements can be due to error, that means unintentional, or they can be due to fraud, that is intentional. Got it? Got it, sir. So this is one thing that you need to write here. Now everyone, please focus on the board. I am asking you one more thing. What, sir? I have planned that I have decided that I will invest my money in the shares of Reliance. I will invest my money in the shares of Reliance Limited. Acha, before investing my money, I saw the revenue of the company, and the revenue of the company is 10,000 crore. It is currently 10,000 crore as per the P&L of the company. Got it, sir? Now tell me one thing. When I decided to invest, I got to know that the actual figure of the revenue is something else. What was the actual figure of the revenue? Let's take two cases. The actual figure of the revenue in case number 1 was 9,999 crore. And in case number 2, it was, let's say, 9,000 crore. What is the value of misstatement? Sir, if we calculate the misstatement, in case 1, it is rupees 1 crore ka misstatement. And in case 2, it is rupees 1,000 crore ka misstatement. It is rupees 1,000 crore ka misstatement. Tell me one thing, in which case my decision to invest in Reliance Limited, this decision will change. In which case my decision to invest in Reliance Limited will change? Case number 1 or case number 2? Please tell me in the chat box. Shivraj got the concept. Okay? Now everyone, you need to tell me the answer. When will my decision change to invest in the company? Everyone has given the right answer. The right answer is case number 2. Sir, in case number 1, if out of 10,000 crore, there is a small misstatement of 1 crore, it is fine. It is absolutely fine. I am chill. But if out of 10,000 crore, there is a misstatement of 1,000 crore, that is 10%. As per my judgment, it is very high. As per my judgment, it is very high. 10% misstatement. Sir, this is not fine. This is something I am not fine with. This is something I am not happy with. In this case, my decision can change. So can I say this is not a misstatement? This is what? This is a material misstatement. This is a material misstatement. You're getting the point or not? Yes, sir. So if there is a misstatement which can affect your decision that you are taking to invest in a company or which is related to this company, then that misstatement is called material misstatement. So let's write down this concept below it. Please write another question. Auditor affected by which misstatements? So write the answer. Auditor is affected by material misstatements. Auditor is affected by material misstatement. Now, what is a material misstatement? Please write down the definition. Misstatements Misstatements considered material if they can influence the economic decisions of the users of financial statements. Misstatements considered material if they can influence economic decisions of the users of financial statements. Done with the writing, everyone? Take 2 sips of water. All set? Done, sir. Now a student comes to me and asks, sir, what? Can the auditor give guarantee? Can the auditor give a guarantee that financial statements are free from material misstatement? I want your answers in the chat box right now. You are not here to just write done, yes sir, okay sir. Okay, I want proper answer now. Can the auditor give a guarantee that the financial statements are free from material misstatement? Yes or no? And if you mean no, then what type of assurance can the auditor give? Vasvi has given the right answer. Neeraj, I am waiting for your answer also. Gautam has given the right answer. Josna has given the right answer. Shivraj given the right answer. Very, very good. Gurram has given the right answer. Everyone has given the right answer mostly. Sir, the right answer is no. No, no, no. No. Auditor can give only and only reasonable assurance. Oh. Auditor can give only and only reasonable assurance. Now, sir, what is a reasonable assurance? It is a high but not absolute assurance. It is a high but not absolute level of assurance. Done with the writing? Yes, sir. So auditor can give only a reasonable assurance, which is a high but not absolute level of assurance. Sir, you are using this word assurance again and again. What do you mean by assurance? Assurance means confidence. Assurance means confidence, a confidence that the auditor is trying to provide to the users. Auditor is trying to give a confidence to the users that whatever procedures he has performed, whatever checking that he has done, on the basis of that, there is no material misstatement in the financial statement. But is he giving a guarantee? No. He is giving a high level of assurance, but not a guarantee. He is just giving a reasonable assurance. He is just giving a reasonable assurance. You're getting the point or not? Yes, sir. So this is what we mean by assurance. So that the person who is investing in the company, he can rely on the audit report. He can rely on the financial statements ki, okay, financial statements are giving a true and fair view. They are prepared as per the applicable FRF. Sir, why do we give only reasonable assurance? Though we will study this topic in detail in the coming time, but still let me give you some understanding. Everyone, please focus here. Understand this. If I am auditing a big company like Reliance Limited, ITC Limited, HDFC Bank, SBI Bank, there are so many big companies. If I am auditing a big company, do you think as an auditor I can test each and every transaction? No, sir. There are so many transactions, you cannot test each and every transaction. Yes or no? Yes, sir. So what do I have to do? Sample testing. So can it happen that whatever sample that I selected, it was absolutely fine? And whatever things I could not check, there was the material misstatement. Yes, sir, it can happen like that. Chalo, let's leave this aside. Let's say management did a fraud. And management, when they did a fraud, they hid the fraud from me. Now, as an auditor, am I doing some investigation? No, sir, you are not doing any investigation. So if I'm not doing any investigation, how can I catch a fraud? Okay? Let's say they manipulated the documents. How will I check the manipulation of the document? Am I expert in checking those manipulation? No, sir. So there are certain many reasons. There are many reasons because of which auditor cannot give a guarantee that whatever financial statements I checked, they are free from material misstatement. So what best the auditor can give? Sir, auditor at best can give reasonable assurance. That is a high but not an absolute level of assurance. Do this with me. It is a high but not an absolute level of assurance. Got the concept? Yes, sir, we got the concept. Now a student comes to me and asks, Sir, I said, yes. Sir, please tell us how to get reasonable assurance. How to get reasonable assurance? So I told him that you need to get a audit evidence for the same. Oh. Now, sir, this audit evidence it should have two qualities. This audit evidence that I'm talking about, it should have two qualities. What are those two qualities? I want all of you to again type in the chat box. One quality starts with S, other quality starts with A. Very good. So basically we should have sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. Sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. Sufficiency means quantity. Appropriateness means quality. Now this quantity and quality we can understand further. Quantity is affected by two factors. First is called risk of material misstatement, that you also called ROMM, and it is affected by the quality of audit evidence. Quality of audit evidence. Sir, what is the risk of material misstatement? That means the percentage chances that financial statements have material misstatement. Think logically and tell me the answer. If the risk of material misstatement is more, you will need more quantity of evidence or less quantity of evidence. Sir, if as an auditor I feel that financial statements there are high chances of material misstatement, I will do more testing. I will do more checking. So when you do more testing, more checking, you collect more evidence. So somewhere the quantity of evidence will also increase. Clear point? Yes, sir. If I talk about the quality, if I say the quality is good, then what will be the impact on quantity? Let's understand with an example. Let's say entity has a bank balance of XXX. Okay, sir. Now for this, can I say only one evidence is enough? What is that only one evidence enough? Bank confirmation. If I take a bank confirmation, that is enough for me to check the bank balance. Yes or no? Yes, sir. Why it is enough for me? Sir, because it is an independent confirmation. It is very reliable audit evidence. So when you are taking an independent confirmation which is very reliable, you just need one evidence. Even one document is enough to check the bank balance. So can I say if the quality is good, even less quantity works. Even less quantity works in this case. Understood the concept? Yes, sir. So first of all, audit evidence depends on sufficiency. It is affected by risk of material misstatement and quality. If risk of material misstatement is more, you need more quantity. If quality is more, even less quantity is enough. Clear? Clear, sir. Now let's talk about appropriateness. Appropriateness means quality. This depends on two factors. Sir, what are those factors? Relevance and reliability. Relevance means, everyone please write with me, logical connection. Logical connection between two things: the audit procedure and the assertion being tested. The assertion being tested. Now write about reliability. This depends on source, circumstances, and nature of the audit evidence. Nature of the audit evidence. Please write it down till here. Acha, below this also write here note number 1, note number 2, and write here note number 3. 3 notes we are going to write now. Okay, please write it down till here, everyone. Done with the writing, everyone? Done, sir. Awesome. Now let's understand the concept of relevance. Let's understand the concept of relevance. Note number 1. Just focus on the board. You don't need to write anything. Okay, just focus on the board and understand the concept with me. Okay, sir. Let's say we are testing the financial statement for the year ended 31st March 25, and we are testing the debtors of the company. What is the value of the debtors? 5 lakh rupees. 5 lakh is the total value of the debtors, and these are 10 debtors. Okay, total mein these are 10 debtors. Got it, sir. Now, sir, if I talk about the debtors, what are the assertions that I need to check? ERCV. ERCV means 4 assertions are there that you can check for the debtors. 1, 2, 3, and 4. First assertion is existence. R for right. C for completeness. And V for valuation. Now to check the existence assertion, what is the audit procedures plus evidence that I can collect? What is the audit procedure or evidence I can collect? So to check whether the debtor exists or not, you can take a external confirmation. You can take a external confirmation from the debtor whether you exist or not. Got it, sir? To check whether the debtor is the right of the company, you can check the sales documents. What can be the sales documents? You can check the invoice. You can check the e-way bill. Okay? You can check the delivery details. These are the different documents that you can check. If I want to check the completeness means if there are 10 debtors, I am worried, can there be any 11th debtor? Can there be any 11th debtor? That means I am worried they must have omitted some debtor. Now, sir, can I say debtor is a current asset? Yes, sir. So if there is a debtor which is existing on 31st March 25, I may be able to recover the money in the month of April, May, June 2025. Yes or no? Yes, sir. So if I think that they must have missed the 11th debtor, there can be a 11th debtor. So for that 11th debtor, I can check the bank statements. I can check the bank statements for the recovery of money from the 11th debtor. So when I am checking the April, May and June ke bank statements, I can see whether there is any received from a money from a person which was not recorded by the company. Whether there was receipt of money from a person which was not recorded by the company. So to check completeness, I am doing altogether a different procedure. I am collecting a different evidence. Got it, sir? Now talking about valuation. How do you calculate the valuation of the debtors? Sir, we take the amount and from it we deduct the provision. And whatever provision we deduct, after that we calculate what is the right value. So can I say for the purpose of testing the valuation, this is the main thing that needs to be checked? Yes or no? Yes, sir. Now, sir, how do we create the provision on debtors? How do we create the provision on the debtors? So the provision depends on aging. Whatever provision that you want to create, it will depend on aging of the debtor. Have you heard about this word? Aging schedule. Yes, sir. What is a aging schedule? Aging schedule means for how long the debtor is overdue. How long the debtor is overdue. So there can be cases where the person is not due, where it is overdue for less than 6 months, 6 months to 1 year, 1 to 2 year, 2 to 3 year, or more than 3 year. So based on the aging, you can apply the percentage and calculate the provision. For example, let's take it like this. If I want to calculate the provision for the debtors, so I can say if the debtor is not due, no provision. If it is due for less than 6 months, 10% provision on the amount. 6 months to 1 year, 25% provision. 1 to 2 year, 50% provision. And depending on that more, you can calculate the percentage of provision. That means if I want to check the valuation of debtor, I need to do aging analysis. Oh, my audit procedure will be aging analysis. This is what I am trying to convey. For checking the valuation, can I take external confirmation? No. You need to do the provision testing only. You're getting the point or not? Yes, sir. Similarly, for checking the completeness, can I take external confirmation? No. You will take the external confirmation from these 10 debtors only. What about the 11th debtor which is missed by the company? For this, you need to check the subsequent bank statement only. This is the concept of relevance. Relevance says whatever evidence you are collecting, whatever procedure you are performing, it should be based on the assertion. It should be based on the assertion. Whatever assertion is there, depending on that, you will perform your procedure and collect the evidence. You are getting the point or not? Yes, sir. This is what relevance is all about. Is provision testing relevant for existence? No. Is subsequent bank statement testing relevant for existence? No. All are irrelevant. This is relevant for this. This is relevant for this. This is relevant for this. And this is relevant for this. You're getting the concept or not? Yes, sir. This is what relevance is all about. Please tell me in the chat box, is the concept of relevance crystal clear to all of you? Yes or no? Please tell me. Deal done? Yes, sir. Giving you 2 minutes, write down this note number one. Okay? Take 2 minutes and write down the note number one. Done with the writing, everyone? Awesome. Hemant, Shivraj, very good. Done, sir. Chalo. Now let's move ahead. Now let's understand the concept of assertions. Okay. So note number one of relevance we have understood. It is a logical connection between the audit procedure and the assertion. Now many students are thinking, sir, can you please explain? Can you please explain the assertion in detail? So write note number two. Note number two, everyone, write with me. Okay, sir. In the note number two, let's understand the concept of assertions. Essay 315 talks about it in detail. What is the assertion means? So please write with me. These are the representations by the management embodied in the financial statements used by the auditor to identify potential misstatements. Used by the auditor to identify potential misstatements. So representations by the management embodied in the financial statements used by the auditor to identify potential misstatements. What are the assertions? Please draw the chart. These are for balance sheet items, what we call it account balance. Oh. Then there are P&L items, what we call as classes of transactions. And then there are assertions for notes to accounts that we call as disclosures. For the account balance, there are 4 assertions E, R, C, V. That is existence, rights and obligations, completeness, and then valuation. For class of transaction, there are 5 assertions O, C, A, C, C. Occurrence, completeness, accuracy, classification, and then there is cutoff. And disclosure, you can say it is the mix of the two, excluding occurrence and cutoff. ठीक है? Please write it down and then we are going to discuss it in detail. What I am trying to say. Quickly write and confirm in the chat box. Very good, Neeraj. Very good, Ankita, Abhiram, Swatika, Taruna, Hemant. Come on, everyone. Write it down fast. Awesome. Very, very good. So, sir, what is the topic of assertions all about? What is the topic of assertions all about? Everyone, please look at the board. I need your attention for the next 2 minutes only. Just need your attention for the next 2 minutes. If I get your attention for 2 minutes, everything will be crystal clear to all of you. Are you people ready? Are you people ready? Yes, sir, we are ready. So assertions means representations by the management. That means what is the management trying to say? What is the management trying to communicate from the financial statements? And these representations are used by the auditor to identify misstatements. Sir, misstatements means, for example, whenever there is a balance sheet item, what is the management trying to say? Management is trying to represent that whenever there is a balance sheet item, that means there is an asset, there is a liability. So that asset or liability exists. If I talk about the asset, we have the right over the asset. Liability is our obligation. Whatever assets and liabilities we have shown, they are complete. And whatever assets and liabilities we have shown them on the right value. These are the assertions. These are the things management is trying to say. And auditor will use these assertions to perform the procedure. And whatever misstatement he finds, it will be in the assertion. Sir, misstatement in the assertion? Yes. For example, this example that we took of debtors. Can it be the case that debtors exist? Yes, sir. We have right over the debtors? Yes, sir. Debtors are complete? Yes, sir. But value is wrong. Provision is wrong. Can it happen like this? Yes, sir. So can I say misstatement is not in debtors? Misstatement is in the assertion of the debtor. Arey Baba, can I say whenever you are finding the misstatement, you will not find the misstatement in debtors. you will find the misstatement in the assertion. Assertion means debtor can exist, that there is a right, debtors are complete, but value is wrong. So there is a misstatement in the valuation assertion. You are getting this point or not? Yes, sir. So assertions are the representations by whom? Management. Where are they? In the financial statement. Who uses them? Auditor uses them to identify the potential misstatement. So when I talk about the account balance, that means the balance sheet assertions. Balance sheet means the assets. Oh my God. Balance sheet means the assets. Balance sheet means the liabilities. So management is trying to assert that assets and liabilities exist. On the assets, we have the right. Liabilities are our obligation. These assets and liabilities are complete, and whatever value we have shown them, this is fine. You understood the balance sheet assertions or not? Yes, sir. You understood why we need to know the assertion? Yes, sir. Because based on these assertions, we will perform our audit procedure. Easy, easy, sir. This was all about balance sheet items. That is account balance. Got it, sir. What about the P&L items? In the P&L item, we call them as class of transaction. Class of transaction means whatever income that is there or whatever expenses that are there, they have occurred during the period. They have occurred during the period and they pertain to the entity. They are entity's income, entity's expense. Got it, sir. Plus, they have actually happened during the year. They have actually happened during the year. Got it, sir. Plus, whatever income or expenses that are there, they are complete. We have not left anything. Whatever income or expenses are there, we have shown them on the right value. Whatever income or expenses are there, we have classified them in the right account. And lastly, we have shown them in the right accounting period. We have shown them in the right accounting period. Right accounting period means cutoff assertion. Cutoff assertion means if the financial year is starting from 1st April 2024, ending on 31st March 2025. So this is the cutoff. Whatever income or expense is happening in this period, it will be recorded in this financial year. You are understanding the meaning of cutoff assertion or not? Yes, sir. So these are the 5 assertions of P&L. Once more, tell me OCACC. Say with me. OCACC. See, all good students will repeat after me. Okay, sir. OCACC. O for occurrence. It is pertaining to the entity. It has actually occurred. C for completeness. A for accuracy, right amount. Then classification and cutoff. Cutoff means recorded in the correct accounting period. You got the concept or not? Yes, sir. We understood the full point. And last point is related to the disclosure. Disclosures are related to what? Balance sheet items and P&L items. So whatever assertions we have discussed here, same to same assertions will become part of disclosures, excluding occurrence and cutoff. Sir, why are we excluding the occurrence? Why are we excluding the cutoff? So you people tell me, do you disclose the contingent liabilities? Yes, sir, we disclose the contingent liability. Have the contingent liability occurred? Sometimes there is a penalty ka notice, you disclose it as a contingent liability. Has that penalty expense occurred? No, sir. That penalty expense has not occurred. Yes or no? Yes, sir. Similarly, can I say whenever there is a non-adjusting event like fire or there is a proposed dividend, sir, when after the financial statements ka date, do you disclose it? Yes, sir, we disclose it. But is it related to your financial year? No, it is after the financial year. So can I say you are not following the cutoff assertion? Yes, sir, we are not following the cutoff assertion. Somewhere we are not following the cutoff assertion when it comes to disclosure, because you are disclosing the events which are happening after the financial year. So that's why 2 assertions don't come part of disclosure. occurrence and cutoff. You got the concept or not? Yes, sir. Last time I am revising with you. Everyone, please focus. What are the assertions of balance sheet items? That is the account balance. Four assertions. ERCV. Say with me. ERCV. ERCV means assets and liability exist. Asset, there is a right. Liability is our obligation. Both are complete and they are recorded at the right value. Easy, easy, sir. Now talking about the class of transaction. OCACC. Say with me. OCACC. Occurrence, occurrence, completeness, accuracy, classification, and cutoff. Many people call it measurement also. Okay, so this is another name that you can use. Disclosure is very easy. Why, sir? It is just a mix of the two and it excludes occurrence and cutoff. That's it. That's it, sir. So I request all of you to quickly take 2 minutes, revise these assertions, recall all of them, and then type in the chat box, done, 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 done. Let's see who comes first. Do it properly. Very good. 1 more minute to go. Acha, here if you want, you can write for your simplicity that occurrence means it has actually happened and it is related to the entity. Got it, sir. Cutoff means it is recorded in the correct accounting period. It is recorded in the correct accounting period. Okay? These two explanations, if you want, you can write for your reference. Others are self-explanatory, so very easy. Okay. Occurrence actually occurred, pertain to the entity. Cutoff means it is recorded in the correct accounting period. Deal done? Done, sir. Now write one more thing. Whenever I am finding a misstatement, okay, this is also one thing I want all of you to write. Whenever I am finding a misstatement, whether the misstatement will be in the debtors, the answer is no. Misstatement will always be in the assertion. This assertion is related to assertion about A, B, C, D. Sir, what is A, B, C, D? A, B for account balance, C for class of transaction, and D for disclosure. Always you will find the misstatement not in the debtors, in the assertions about the account balance, class of transaction, or disclosure. That means, for example, it can happen that the debtors exist. There is a right over the debtors. Debtors are complete. But when it comes to valuation, there is a misstatement. There is a misstatement in the valuation. So this is one concept that you should also write. Done, 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 sir. Now I have something special for you. What, sir? Let's play some quiz. Let's play some quiz. Let's everyone come with me. Let's do some quiz and master questions. These are the assertions ka master questions which will help you test whether you have got a good conceptual understanding of assertions or not. Are you people ready to play the quiz with me? Yes, sir, we are ready. So everyone, please focus on the board. Where will we find this question list? I will upload it in your Google Drive. Okay, I will upload it in your Google Drive. Don't worry. Right now, just solve the questions with me. Question number 1, everyone focus. While verifying the turnover of the company, can I say turnover is a class of transaction? Turnover is a class of transaction. CAJ ensures that all the sales are correctly recorded in the books of accounts based on invoices and discounts have been properly adjusted. Sir, what is this assertion? Basically, they are trying to say that whatever sales are there, they are correctly recorded. Based on the invoices and discounts are properly adjusted. That means whatever sales I am recording, from this I am deducting the discounts, and then whatever is the value, I am recording it at the correct value. Got it, sir? Similarly, for the verification of employee benefit expenses, which is again a class of transaction, they ensured that TDS related adjustments are reconciled and accounted for. So again, for my employee benefit expenses, whatever TDS adjustment I am required to do, after that I am again recording it at the right amount. Which assertions are being verified by CAJ for correctness of the sales on the basis of invoice, including the adjustment of discounts, and TDS adjustment on the employee benefit expenses? So just for simplicity, these are the P&L item and there are 5 assertions, O, C, A, C, C. So you people tell me what will be the right answer, A, B, C, D. Which will be the right answer in this case? This accuracy, the other word is measurement. Shivraj says A, Hemant says A. Many people are saying B also. Many people are saying B, but many people are saying A also. Very, very good. So let me tell you, the right answer is option A. Measurement and measurement. Why, sir? Because we are focusing on the amount. We are focusing on the correct amount. Now, some of you may say, sir, here they are writing all the sales are correctly recorded. Here the main focus is not on all. The main focus is on correct recording of the sales after the adjustment of discount. Even when they have asked the question, they have written assertion for correctness of the sale on the basis of invoice, including adjustment of discount. So once you are adjusting the discount, you are calculating the right value. And right value means accuracy, that is the measurement. So the right answer will be A, measurement for both. Similarly, for employee, again the right amount should be calculated after the TDS adjustment. Got the point? Yes, sir. Now talk about question number 2. CA Kaushal, statutory auditor of FEMO Limited, obtained trade receivable aging report. Analyzed it, identified the doubtful debts during the audit of accounts receivable balances. Which assertion he is checking? Again, trade receivable is a balance sheet item. So 4 assertions are there, ERCV. Existence, right, completeness, valuation. Tell me which assertion he is checking by doing the debtor aging analysis. Mostly people have given again the right answer. Right answer is valuation. When I am doing the aging analysis, am I doing the existence? No, sir, it is not about the existence. Checking the right? No. Completeness? No. I am checking the valuation. Because based on the aging, I will calculate the provision, and based on the provision, I will calculate the value of the debtor. Easy, easy, sir. Now let's focus on question number 3. Question number 3 is something I want all of you to solve yourself. Let's read it together. For employee benefit expenses, following points were verified. Again, employee benefit expenses is a P&L item. So 5 assertions are there: O, C, A, C, C. Employee benefit expenses shown in the books were actually incurred during the relevant period. Expenses in respect of all the personnel were accounted. Expense recognized in the year 23-24 relates to this year only. Among the following, which assertions are discussed respectively in the same order as above point? Okay. So you need to tell the correct order and you need to choose the right option. Oh my God. Everyone, please tell me which option will you go ahead with? Take your time. Relax. Take your time. Option B, option B, option B, option B, option B. Many students are giving option B. Let's see if option B is right or not. Okay. One student has given C also. Let's see what game. When I am saying the expense has actually incurred, which assertion I am talking about? Occurrence. All the personnel, I am talking about completeness. Relates to this financial year only, I am talking about cutoff. Yes or no? Yes, sir. This is how the game works. So occurrence, completeness, cutoff. Occurrence, completeness, cutoff. That means 2, 4, 3. 2, 4, 3. B is the right answer. Okay, B is the right answer. I hope, and I'm very happy that most of you got it right. Clapping for all of you. Awesome. Now let's move to question number 4. Sir, the game is getting interesting. Question number 4. Assets additions during the year. Again, I'm talking about asset. That means 4 assertions: E, R, C, V. Existence, right, completeness, valuation. Assets addition during the year were 50 lakhs. Payment were made through the bank account. But when they made the scrutiny means checking, it was found some invoices were not in the name of the company. They were not in the name of the company, but in the name of the director. Which assertion is not proved? In which assertion there is a misstatement? A, B, C, D. Existence, rights and obligation, completeness, or valuation. Everyone is giving again the right answer. Option B. If the invoice is not in the name of the company, can I say company doesn't have the right over the asset? Company doesn't have the right over the asset. So asset can exist. Assets may be complete. Value may be right, but there is no right over the asset. There is no right over the asset. So problem with the rights assertion. Easy, easy, sir. Now let's focus on question number 5, last question. While performing the audit procedures, it is noticed by auditors that bill of 2 vehicles which were in the name of the trust, these vehicles are not physically available for use. Payment was done by the bank account of the trust. Considering the issues of the vehicle, identify the appropriate statement. Again, can I say it is a vehicle? So 4 assertions: E, R, C, V. Existence, right, completeness, valuation. Which assertion is not proved in this case when they are not available for use? A, B, C, D. Everyone again giving the right answer. The right answer is option A. There is a problem with existence. If they are not available, that means they don't exist. They don't exist. Okay. So again, the problem is with the existence assertion. Clear or not? Clear, sir. So with this, the first part of today's session gets completed. Okay. I hope all of you got a good comfort over the topic of assertions. This is one topic that you may have studied in CA Inter also. Yes, sir, we have studied. But today, when you studied this topic, did it feel good? Did you get a good confidence? Please tell me in the chat box. Are you people feeling confident about the assertions topic or not? 5 out of 5. Great. See, what matters here is the learning. Are you learning or understanding the points properly or not? That's what matters. Awesome. So thank you so much, everyone. Now I'm giving you a break of 15 minutes. After the break, we connect back and continue with the remaining topic. Okay? See you all after the break. So everyone, welcome back after the break. Now, sir, after the break, I think we were done with the 2 notes. Yes, sir. Note number 1 of the relevance was done before the break. Note number 2, we understood all the concept of assertion. Now, sir, note number 3, which talks about reliability. This reliability depends on 3 factors: source, circumstances, and nature. Let's cover this concept little bit in detail. Okay. So come to your notebooks. Back after the break. Write the heading note number 3. Note number 3 talks about reliability. Now, sir, this reliability, it depends on 3 factors. What are those 3 factors? Source, circumstances, and nature. If I talk about the source, which is considered to be more reliable? Sir, audit evidence from external sources. External sources is considered to be more reliable. So write with me, external source, it is considered to be more reliable. Got it, sir. Sir, what about internally generated audit evidence? What about internally generated audit evidence? Can it be reliable? Answer is yes. If the internal controls are effective, if the entity's internal controls effective, then it can also be reliable. Then you can say it is also reliable. Got it, sir. What do you mean by circumstances? Circumstances means audit evidence which is obtained directly by the auditor. Circumstances means audit evidence which is obtained directly by the auditor. It is more reliable than the one which is obtained indirectly. Indirectly through the management. For example, you can write the example also. If you observe the internal control, performed by the entity, this is always more reliable than taking the documents from the management. So if I myself observe that yes, internal controls are properly performed by the entity, that will be considered more reliable than taking any documents from the management. Why, sir? Why it is more reliable? Because documents can be manipulated by the management. Management can manipulate the documents, but if you yourself observe that there are proper processes performed by the entity, internal control means processes. So if you observe proper processes performed by the entity, that is considered to be more reliable. Now let's talk about the nature. If I talk about the nature, which is more reliable? You people tell me, documentary or oral audit evidence? Which is more reliable? Documentary or oral? Sir, documentary is more reliable. Why? Because if someone is telling you something orally, that person can step back and say, I did not say this. So when you have something in document form, that is considered to be more reliable evidence. Got it, sir? Even in documentary, if I ask, which is more reliable? Sir, original documents. Original documents are more reliable than any photocopy or any digitized document. Or any digitized document which can be in the form of PDF. Okay. So these are certain points of reliability which I want all of you to see. Last time, I'm quickly revising this topic. Source. External sources are more reliable. Internally generated audit evidence can also be reliable if the internal controls are effective. Easy, easy, sir. Circumstances. If you are getting audit evidence directly, it is more reliable than getting it indirectly through the management. And lastly, nature. Documentary, more reliable than oral. And even in documentary, original documents are more reliable than photocopy or digitized documents like PDF. Please write it down and confirm in the chat box. Then we will move to the next concept. Done, done, done. Now, everyone, I am introducing a character. I am introducing a character in today's audit class. Are you people ready? Yes, sir, we are ready. Sir, who is this character? He is the king. Oh. Da, 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 da. King of all standards on auditing. King of all standards on auditing. Sir, who is the king of all standards on auditing? It is SA 200. What is the name of the king? Just wait for a few moment. You will get to know. Write with me. SA 200 means overall objective. Overall objectives of independent auditor. Overall objective of independent auditor and conduct of audit as per standards on auditing. Standards on auditing. So overall objective of independent auditor and conduct of audit as per the standards on auditing. If you just pick up the first letters of all these pink words, you will get the name of the king. Sir, what is the name of the king? OOIA CASA. That means Uyya Kasa. Uyya Kasa. So this is your SA 200 Uyya Kasa. What is Uyya Kasa? Overall objective of independent auditor and conduct of audit as per the standards on auditing. So as an auditor, if you want to achieve your overall objective, you need to do your audit as per the standards on auditing. Now, sir, yes. Sir, what is the overall objective? So please write with me. To obtain reasonable assurance. To obtain reasonable assurance that financial statements are free from material misstatement due to fraud or error. Got it, sir. Once you get the reasonable assurance, you can express your opinion. To express opinion that financial statements are prepared in all material respects as per applicable financial reporting framework. Once you have formed your opinion, What do you do with it? Sir, we report and communicate. Report and communicate as per the standards on auditing. As per the standards on auditing. Please write it down, then I will tell you the flow of this point. Quickly write it down and confirm in the chat box. Done, done, sir. Now everyone just focus here for the next 2 minutes. Just 2 minutes you need to focus and everything will be crystal clear. So as an auditor, what is my overall objective? Sir, I need a reasonable assurance. First thing is I need a reasonable assurance that financial statements don't have any material misstatement. Now tell me one thing. If the financial statements will not have any material misstatement, okay, when there is a misstatement, sir, misstatement is there when there is a difference between what is reported in the financial statement and what is required as per applicable FRF. So can I say if there is no misstatement, that means financial statements are prepared as per the applicable FRF? Are yes or no? Yes, sir. So first of all, you take reasonable assurance that financial statements don't have material misstatement. Once you get a reasonable assurance, you express your opinion that financial statements are prepared as per the applicable FRF because no material misstatement is there. Got it, sir? And third thing is, once you have formed your opinion, will you keep it in your mind or you will write it down? Sir, we will write it down. So report and communicate as per the standards on auditing. And this is what your overall objective is all about. So everyone revise with me what are the 3-step process that you need to focus on. We need a reasonable assurance that financial statements are free from material misstatement so that we can form the opinion. Said when they are free from material misstatement, that means they are prepared in all material respects as per the applicable FRF. Once you have formed your opinion, Are Baba, report and communicate as per the standards on auditing. Is the 3-step process clear to you? Yes, sir. Please take 1 minute, revise it properly, recall it properly and type in the chat box, done. Okay? Then we will move forward to the next concept. Last 20 seconds. Very, very good. Now everyone, you can get very happy. Sir, what? Now we are moving to the last concept of the day. Yes, I will make you do one case study. We will solve one case study and that's all we will do for today and we'll be done. Are you people ready? Are you people ready? Yes, sir, we are ready. Awesome. Come to your notes. Write down the heading. Case study. Okay. You need to write the full case study with me. Start writing. Considering the nature of business and operations of BBV Private Limited. BBV Private Limited, there are 40% chances 40% chances that financial statements are materially misstated. To deal with this, management designed and implemented internal controls. These controls expected to be 75% effective. Auditor expects to detect 80% of the material misstatements. Auditor expects to detect 80% of the material misstatements. Calculate inherent risk, control risk, risk of material misstatement, detection risk, and lastly you need to calculate the audit risk. Okay, this is your question all about. I am giving you 2 minutes to self try this question once. Okay, try this question self once for 2 minutes and I will see who all give the answer. Okay, try this out. Come on, everyone. I'm waiting for your answers. Give the right answer, wrong answer, whatever. I just want the answers. That's it. So I have got few answers. 40% is the inherent risk, 25% someone is saying. Control risk, okay. Risk of material misstatement, 80%. Oh my god. Satvik has got all of them right. Venkatesh has got all of them right. Very, very good. Inherent risk 40%, control risk 25%, risk of material misstatement 10%, detection risk 20%, and audit risk 2%. Very, very good. Awesome. For all of those who have got it right, clapping for all of you. Come on. Now everyone come with me. Let's understand and calculate these types of risks. Are you people ready? Yes, sir, we are ready. First of all, let's focus on inherent risk. Okay. Sir, what is the inherent risk? Write the definition with me. Susceptibility. Susceptibility means chances. Chances of an assertion about ABCD. ABCD means account balance, class of transaction, or disclosure. Susceptibility of an assertion about ABCD to a material misstatement. To a material misstatement. Again, this material misstatement could be individual or in aggregate. Susceptibility of an assertion about a ABCD to a material misstatement individually or in aggregate before considering the internal control. Before considering the internal control. Write down this definition. Susceptibility of an assertion about ABCD to a material misstatement individually or in aggregate before considering the internal control. Now, sir, what does it mean? Till now, we have understood one thing, that sir, misstatement is there in the account balance, class of transaction, or disclosure. No, misstatement is always there in the assertion. This assertion is related to the account balance, class of transaction, or disclosure. Okay. So what are the chances that in an assertion about the account balance, class of transaction, or disclosure, there can be a material misstatement? So can I say chances of material misstatement in the assertion? Yes, sir. Before you are considering the internal control. So what are those chances? So if I read the question, it clearly says there are 40% chances that financial statements are materially misstated because of the nature of the business and operation. So can I say inherent risk is 40%? Can I say in our case inherent risk is 40%? Yes or no? Yes, sir. Now, sir, can you give us some examples of inherent risk? Yes, I can give. For example, let's take company's inventory. There is a risk of overvaluation of inventory. Sir, when will there be a risk of overvaluation of inventory? If your inventory gets obsolete. Oh. And if the inventory gets obsolete, there is a fall in the net realizable value. There is a fall in the net realizable value. So it can lead to overvaluation of inventory and it can lead to a material misstatement. Got it, sir? Can you give us some more example? Yes. Let's say an entity is operating in the airline industry. In the airline industry, there are lot of business failures. Got it, sir? Now, since there are a lot of business failures, so if the financial statements are prepared on going concern basis, and let's say in the near future, entity shuts down. So again, it will lead to a material misstatement. Why? Because you prepared your financial statements on going concern basis and in the near future, entity shut down. That means financial statements were prepared wrongly. Your financial statements were prepared wrongly. So this is what inherent risk is all about. That means before entity installs the control, before considering the control, what are the chances of material misstatements in your financial statement? You got the concept of inherent risk? Yes, sir, we understood the concept of inherent risk. Now let me take one more example. Please everyone focus on the board. Sir, what? Case number 1 and case number 2. You people need to tell me in which case there is a material misstatement. Materiality is equal to 5 lakhs. In case number 1, there is a misstatement of rupees 6 lakhs. And in case number 2, there is a misstatement 1, 2, 3. Three types of misstatement are there. First misstatement of 2 lakhs. Second of 3,50,000. And third misstatement is of 1 lakh. Please tell me in which case there is a material misstatement. Case number 1 or case number 2? Chandra says both. Sir, in both the cases, there is a material misstatement. Sharinida also says the same. Ankita also says the same. Sir, why? In case number 1, materiality is how much? Sir, materiality is 5 lakhs. So can I say individually, it is a material misstatement? Yes, sir. And in case number 2, if I total the misstatement, 2 lakh plus 3 lakh, 5 lakh 50,000 plus 6 lakh, so it comes out to be 6 lakh 50,000. Again, can I say it is more than 5 lakh? Yes, sir. So it is in aggregate a material misstatement. It is in aggregate a material misstatement. So this is what I was trying to tell you here also. So what are the chances that in an assertion about ABCD, there can be material misstatement individually or in aggregate before considering the internal control? You got the concept or not? Yes, sir. And these are 2 examples of inherent risk. Now let's move to control risk. Now let's discuss about the control risk. What is the control risk all about? It is a risk that a material misstatement, again individually or in aggregate, material misstatement about, or you can say material misstatement in an assertion about ABCD will not be prevented, detected or corrected on timely basis by the internal control. Risk that a material misstatement individually or in aggregate, where is the material misstatement? In an assertion about a account balance, class of transaction or disclosure, will not be prevented, detected or corrected on a timely basis by the internal control. So if we see the question, it clearly says that controls are expected to be 75% effective. 75% effective means 75% chances are that they will prevent, detect or correct the material misstatement. Then what are the chances that they will not be able to prevent, detect or correct the material misstatement? 25% is the control risk. 25% is the control risk, that controls will not be able to prevent, detect or correct the material misstatement. You're getting the point or not? Yes, sir. So this is what will be the control risk in our case. Control risk will be 25%. That means if they are 75% effective, 25% are the chances that they will not be able to prevent, detect or correct the material misstatement. Easy, easy, sir. Now, sir, comes the third part that we are discussing. This is risk of material misstatement. Risk of material misstatement, that is ROMM. Write the definition with me. Risk that financial statements are materially misstated prior to audit. Risk that financial statements are materially misstated prior to audit. Let's calculate the risk of material misstatement. First of all, 40% chances were there that there is a material misstatement. Yes, sir. Out of this 40%, can I say 75% is corrected? Controls are 75% effective. So out of this 40%, 75% is corrected. What is the percentage that is not corrected by the internal control? Sir, out of the 40%, 25% will not be prevented, detected or corrected by the control. So can I say overall risk of material misstatement now is only 10%. Overall risk of material misstatement will be 10%. That means out of the inherent risk, 25% will not be corrected. That is 10% is the risk of material misstatement. Easy, easy, sir. Now let's move to the fourth point, detection risk. Now what is this risk? Write the definition with me. Risk that audit procedures will not be able to detect a material misstatement. Risk that audit procedures will not be able to detect a material misstatement. Let's go to the case study. Clearly it says auditor expects to detect 80% of the material misstatement. That means 80% it will be able to detect. So what is the percentage it will not be able to detect? 20%. 20% is the percentage that it will not be able to detect the material misstatement. So can I say this is the detection risk? 20% is the detection risk. So detection risk will come out to be 20%. Now comes the last risk, that is the audit risk. What is audit risk? Write the definition with me. Audit risk is the risk that auditor gives wrong opinion when financial statements are materially misstated. When the financial statements are materially misstated. So risk that the auditor gives wrong opinion when the financial statements are materially misstated. That means financial statements have a material misstatement. So mathematically, if I write this equation, what it will say? What are the chances that financial statements have material misstatement and auditor is not able to detect it? So can I say there were 40%, sorry, what was the risk of material misstatement? 10%. There were 10% chances that there is a material misstatement in the financial statement. Yes, sir. Out of this 10%, how much will the auditor not be able to detect? 20%. 20% auditor will not be able to detect. So can I say overall audit risk is only 2%? Overall audit risk is only 2%. Got it? Got it, sir. Please take 2 sips of water. Then I will do a quick revision of the concept that we have discussed. Ready? Ready, sir. Now understand the concept that we have just discussed. First of all, we discussed about the inherent risk. Inherent risk is the risk which is inherent to the business. That means we have not considered the controls, we have not considered the auditor, we have not considered anything. This is the risk which is there. So what is the risk that there is a material misstatement in the financial statement due to the business? It is 40%. Now to deal with this 40%, what did the management do? Put the control. Controls are 75% effective. So what is the control risk? 25%. What is the overall risk of material misstatement? Sir, 40% chances of material misstatement. Out of that 40%, 75% is okay. So can I say out of the 40%, only 25% is left? Yes, sir. So overall, there is a risk of material misstatement of 10%. Now comes to auditor. Auditor says it will detect 80%. So what is the detection risk? 20%. So what is the overall audit risk? Audit risk is out of the 10% material misstatements, auditor will not detect 20%. That's why it will give a wrong opinion. So the audit risk comes out to be 2%. Please tell me in the chat box, is the whole concept crystal clear to all of you? Yes or no? Quickly give me a thumbs up in the chat box. Done, done. Deal done. Perfect, sir. Awesome. Now a student comes to me and says, sir, can I reduce the audit risk to 0? Can I reduce the audit risk to 0? Answer is no. You cannot reduce the audit risk to 0. It is just like saying auditor cannot give a guarantee that the financial statements are free from material misstatement. You cannot give the guarantee. So you cannot reduce the audit risk to 0. You cannot give a guarantee. Then, sir, what is the benefit of auditing? If we cannot reduce the audit risk to 0, we cannot give a guarantee. What is the benefit of auditing? You people tell me. When you leave the house, do you put a lock on the door? Yes, sir, we put a lock on the door. Is putting a lock a guarantee that there will be no theft at the house? No, sir. Thief can come. He can still steal the goods and take it away with them. Then why do you put a lock at the door? Sir, it reduces the risk of robbery. When you put a lock on the door, it reduces the risk of robbery. Similarly, if you are doing audit, you are reducing the risk. Ultimately, you are reducing the risk. You are reducing the chances that financial statements will be having some material misstatement. You are getting the concept or not? Yes, sir. So again, you cannot reduce the audit risk to 0. You cannot give a guarantee that financial statements are free from material misstatement. And the main reason behind this is ILA. Sir, what is ILA? Inherent limitations of auditing. Inherent limitations of auditing, and this is the concept that we are going to take up in the next session. This is the concept that we are going to take up in the next session. So here we are going to wrap up the first session, that is the first class of auditing. I hope you enjoyed this class. My main focus is this only, that in the initial 2 to 3 classes, 3 to 4 classes, we build the base for our CA final auditing, because I understand many of you may have cleared the CA intermediate exams recently. Many of you may have cleared it long ago, but the game is same. All of you want a quick brush up of the concepts. You want a quick brush up of the concepts so that the concepts are crystal clear to you and you are able to easily ace auditing. Okay, so I am there with you. You just need to maintain your support. Make sure whatever we have studied today, you are revising it before attending the next class, and that's it. Have an awesome day ahead. See you in the next session. Make sure you revise everything we have covered today. And yes, let's catch up in the next session. Keep studying with happiness, because then only we progress. Have an awesome day ahead. See you all.